In the Mass for the Dead, the Kyrie is sung together with the introit. One movement flows into the next. So Durufle indicates that there should be no interruption between the first and the second movement. The text of the Kyrie is Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison, Kyrie eleison. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy. And this naturally lends itself to creating a movement that has three sections, one for each part of the text. I believe that this movement represents what is perhaps Durufle's most inspired music. The first section is composed in a style that is inspired by works from the Renaissance. They were written using counterpoint, where voices move independently one from the other. In the first movement, we had a clear accompaniment and a clear melody. But in the Kyrie, every voice has a melody, and they all move independently, and they create all kinds of different colors and harmonies by the way they interact and weave together. The first voice we hear is the bass, singing a melody based on the Kyrie Gregorian chant. And it continues. But before it ends, the tenors come in. So basses. And then the tenors come in with the same melody, but starting on a different note. And then the altos join them with the same melody. And then the sopranos. But the other melodies don't stop singing, they continue through. By doing this, by bringing the voices in one at a time in this sequence of pitches, Durufle begins what is known as a fugue. This is one of the most formal and rigid musical forms. It has very strict rules, and Durufle follows in a line of great composers, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Brahms, who choose the form of the fugue to express their most profound musical thoughts. And once the four voices have entered, Durufle does something striking, completely unexpected. While the four voices continue moving independently, the trumpets, or the trumpet register in the organ, depending on the version you're using, begin playing the melody very slowly, one note at a time. Layering that on top of the other counterpoint. As the first section of the Kyrie ends, we are led into the second part, Christ have mercy. And as befits the text, Christ have mercy, the character of the section is more human, more emotional, a more personal plea of mercy than the Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy. The sopranos and the altos sing in a new melody, and this is the first melody so far in the Requiem that Durufle composed, that he didn't base on an existing chant. And the melody is Christe eleison. But they never let each other finish. So the altos start the melody here, and almost as if they can't contain themselves, the sopranos start here. And then the horns, or the corresponding register of the organ, come in on this note. And then it comes in even a little bit higher. So it's ever rising, first slowly, and then the melodies become even more excited. So they start interrupting each other at a faster rate. So first the sopranos, then the altos interrupt it. And then the sopranos climb over them. And then the altos overtake them. And then they go higher and higher, preparing the stunning re-entry of the basses, who come back in on the text Kyrie eleison, which brings us to the third section of the Requiem, of the Kyrie movement. And this third section is again based on the chant, but it is now in a fortissimo. It is always loud, and all the voices sing, expressing all their feelings and all their emotions. We have reached the peak of the arc. The idea of arcs is very important when talking about Gregorian chant and Durufle's music. Every section has had an arc. It starts at a point, it builds up to a peak, and then it gently moves away from that peak. So if we look at the Kyrie chant, we reach the peak, and then we come back down. So it has an arc. And this idea of arc becomes very important because every section that we've seen builds up to a peak and then comes down. And this section here is the climax of the first two movements. It is the top of the peak. And Durufle sustains it for a very long time. And all of humanity sings here. Every emotion, every feeling ever expressed is here. And it becomes even more powerful because every voice is independent. So every person that is singing, every instrument has their own melody, and they're all moving together, which I would say also makes a very profound statement about life, a very profound theological statement. And we very gradually, and Durufle is very careful about how he measures it, descend from this peak. Does something, in my opinion, is a moment of genius, because we are left with a memory of what we just heard. And we as an audience are also left with a memory, with a sensation that we've just experienced what to me is one of the great moments in music.